The almighty Socceroos have reached the knockout stages in a dramatic day of World Cup action. Turkiye finally shows up, having already been eliminated, and Elliot Anderson is heading to City for how much? This is DMAC Daily. Was it vintage football? No. Was this a game I'll live to tell the grandkids about one day? Absolutely not. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Popovic's Socceroos had one job today: secure second place by any means necessary. As head-to-head record supersedes goal difference, it was impossible for the Socceroos to overtake the USA today, so a draw was just as valuable as a win, and in the end, the Socceroos have done exactly what was required, holding Paraguay to a comfortable goalless stalemate to book in second place and a spot in the round of 32. Unreal stuff. Coming into this matchup, I was high-key nervous because match day 1 saw a haram ball masterclass, yet match day 2 was the exact opposite, a haram ball disaster class. But the lineup Popper entrusted in today was far more ambitious. Volpato and Irankunda coming into the side. Not a fan of Irankunda in the 9 at Mo Touré's expense, but I'll take it. Better yet, Popper entrusted in the 18-year-old central defender Lucas Harrington. And boy, oh boy, was this kid unreal. There's a reason he's currently linked with Barcelona. He's the truth, man. The Socceroos have never possessed a defender like him. His composure and maturity on the pitch is simply crazy for an 18-year-old. I can't speak highly enough about just how good he was today. The match itself, however, was poor. 0-0, a game of limited chances, but considering the stakes at play, it's no surprise. Australia didn't need to win, meanwhile Paraguay couldn't afford to lose, because if they did, then finishing in the group with 3 points puts them at risk of not making the top 8 for third-ranked teams. 4 points almost certainly gets them through. Now, a win would have been an even better outcome for Paraguay to finish in second, but they couldn't risk exposing themselves to a potential loss, so it was a risk-averse chess match of sorts. Spare a thought for the Europeans who stayed up to watch that. That being said, a lot of positives for the Socceroos. Volpato looked lively. Jordan Boss is a literal boss. All 3 central defenders were also immense. 1 to 11 really didn't put a foot wrong. Very proud of this team to qualify in second place. Everyone had the Socceroos written off heading into this tournament, yet here we are, qualifying automatically, just like in 2022. Our next opponent is still up for grabs. All 4 Group G teams could end up in second. If I'm a betting man, Belgium is the most likely outcome, which is a menacing prospect on paper, but I don't know, Belgium in 2026 doesn't quite scare me nowadays. I must admit though, I'd love to see New Zealand pull off an upset. How good would a Trans-Tasman World Cup knockout match be? Regardless of whoever our opponent is, I'm looking forward to it and full of confidence that we reach the round of 16. There's so much quality in this group. A great day to be a Socceroos fan. Moving to Group E, and Ecuador have done the impossible. They actually scored a goal, 2 in fact, in a stellar come-from-behind victory over Germany to advance to the round of 32. Now, I was very curious as to how Germany were going to line up today in this match. They had already qualified in first place, so you'd think maybe Nagelsmann would have used this game to rest some key personnel, keep them fresh for the knockout stages, and give some of the other squad members valuable minutes, especially someone like Dennis Undav, perhaps, who has bagged 4 goals off the bench in his previous 2 games. Yeah, well, it turns out Germany did the exact opposite. They basically played their full-strength team again. Only 2 changes were made, Rudiger for the injured Schlotterbeck and Raum for the injured Brown. Baffling to me personally, but hey, what do I know? I guess 2 minutes in, the logic checked out as Sane bagged his first goal of the tournament, a much-needed moment for the highly criticized winger. Believe it or not, it's his first ever major tournament goal for Germany. That being said, it probably shouldn't have stood. Don't know how that high boot from Pavlovic wasn't flagged. So at that point, I already thought, oh yeah, it's game over for Ecuador, considering their lack of end product in their previous 2 match days. But credit to the South American side, they didn't panic, they didn't retreat into survival mode, they kept competing, kept pressing, and 7 minutes later, Nilson Angulo produced the moment that completely changed the equation, receiving the ball outside the box, setting himself, and then letting fly. A strike that went through the legs of Pavlovic first, and then past Neuer to equalize. From there on, Ecuador carried a real threat. Valencia tested Neuer with a fierce long-range effort. Their set pieces caused problems. Their transitions had Germany scrambling. And while Germany did have chances of their own, Havertz's header, Musiala denied by a brilliant Ordóñez block, Sane squirmed another opportunity, Undav hitting the side netting late on. Ultimately, their finishing was below par. The same couldn't be said for Ecuador though. Their manager made a big call in the second second half, taking off skipper Valencia, Ecuador's iconic World Cup figure. And it could have backfired badly. They needed a goal after all. But Kevin Rodriguez came on in his place. And 13 minutes later, he'd rise highest at the near post from a corner, flicking it to Gonzalo Plata, who beat Neuer to the ball and found the back of the net. Limbs everywhere, a crazy outcome, the most unlikely of comebacks to defeat Germany and take third spot in the group. Coming into this tournament, these guys were dark horses. They'd since been putting on their best Turkiye impression in the opening 2 games, but when it mattered most, a big result came to fruition, and now they'll be backing themselves against whoever. As for Germany, how else to explain it other than "Du bist nicht gut genug." If you didn't get that reference, don't worry about it. If you did, real ball Noah. But yeah, this was a poor performance. I understand the players' motivations were lower today. You know, they'd already topped the group. There was nothing of significance to actually play for, which is why I can't help but wonder, why didn't they rest more players and give other squad members a chance to prove themselves? It just seemed illogical to me. Staying in Group E, and while Ecuador were busy pulling off the shock of the day, Côte d'Ivoire handled their own business, defeating Curaçao 2-0 to reach the knockout stages for the first time in their history. A massive moment for Ivorian football. This is their 4th World Cup, but never before had they made it out of the group stages, which is wild when you think about some of the stars they've possessed over the years. But now, under MS Faye, they've done it. The difference maker was Nicolas Pepe, rolling back the years with a brace. His first came after just 6 minutes, punishing a Curaçao mistake after Diomande pounced and squared it across goal. Then, in the second half, Pepe killed the game, collecting Sangare's pass before curling a beautiful finish beyond Curaçao's clutch keeper. Again, it was another promising display from Diomande today. He looked lively down that left flank. He's had moments now in all 3 games, creating over 10 chances. He's still got room for improvement in the final third. He's not the finished article, but with him on the left, Diallo on the right, Pepe in the 10, Bonnie up top, they've got some serious firepower. They're also very solid in midfield. Christian Ulay is a serious player, and at the back, loads of depth there too. As for their opponents, Curaçao, their World Cup dream sadly comes to an end. They did put in a good fight today, several big chances against a very good Côte d'Ivoire side. The debutants have been a great addition to the tournament. That result via Ecuador will live long in the memory of Curaçao. Meanwhile, the Netherlands have secured top spot in Group F, defeating Tunisia 3-1 to set up a crazy round of 32 matchup against Morocco. Now, coming into today, anything less than 3 points seemed implausible. Tunisia were already eliminated off of the back of multiple hammerings by Sweden and Japan respectively. Having also seen a change of manager mid-tournament, one could only imagine the squad morale coming into the game against the Netherlands, and things would only get worse just 3 minutes in when the team's skipper turned the ball into his own net. 4 minutes later, Brian Brobbey then made it 2-0 from the set piece, his 3rd goal of the tournament. So after 7 minutes, Tunisia were staring at another grim afternoon, but to their credit, they did at least show a little fight in the second half. Hazem Mastori pulled one back with a strong header in the 54th minute, and for a brief moment, with Japan also ahead against Sweden in the other Group F game, there was just a tiny bit of pressure on the Dutch. The prospect of a Brazil matchup lingered if they didn't secure first place, but those concerns didn't last long. 8 minutes later, Spurs' latest signing Van Hecke restored the 2-goal cushion, another set-piece goal, with the ball taking a deflection on the way through. From there on, the Netherlands were in cruise control and saw this game out. So a lot of positives to take out of the group stage for Ronald Koeman's side. I wouldn't say they've been incredible, but they are unbeaten, they are scoring freely, and they have avoided Brazil. But as I said earlier, I'm not sure Morocco's necessarily a better outcome. They are very strong too. And in the other Group F match, we had ourselves a fascinating contest with Japan and Sweden playing out a thrilling 1-1 draw in Dallas, a result that ultimately sends both nations into the knockout stages. For Japan, this is another statement of consistency. They don't top the group because of results mentioned earlier, but 5 points from 3 games against the Dutch, Tunisia, and Sweden is a very respectable return. The football they've played throughout has been ambitious and so brave. More importantly, they go unbeaten through a World Cup group stage for just the 2nd time in their history after doing it as co-hosts back in 2002. As to the game itself today, and it was a pretty cagey affair. Japan struck first in vintage fashion, beautiful free-flowing football, the pass and movement from Doan, the hold-up play from Ueda for the 1-2. Doan then carves their defense open with that pass as Maeda timed his run perfectly. The touch is then superb, the finish equally impressive. If Spain scored that goal, we'd be saying that's tiki-taka heritage. I am obsessed with the football Japan play, man. That goal was peak in my eyes. But Sweden responded almost immediately, and it was Anthony Elanga who produced the moment of quality. 6 minutes after Japan's opener, he curled home a brilliant equalizer on his weaker left foot to drag Sweden back into it and effectively save their tournament. Newcastle fans will be left wondering, where's that Elanga been all along? Another top finish from the pacey winger. From there, Sweden actually finished stronger. Alexander Isak had a couple of big moments late on, but Japan's keeper Suzuki came up with 2 important saves to protect the point and make sure Japan avoided defeat. So Japan finished second, and their reward is absolutely brutal. A round of 32 meeting with Brazil. Sweden, meanwhile, sneaked through into third with 4 points, but they could also be staring at a nightmare knockout tie against either France or Norway. So both teams survived, but Japan probably leave this group feeling better about themselves, even if the path now gets slightly terrifying, although I can actually see them stunning Brazil. Finally, we head to Group D, and the USA's perfect start is now officially gone, but the bigger picture remains relatively healthy. Turkiye have beaten the host 3-2 in LA, with Kan Ayhan scoring basically with the final kick of the game, which for Turkiye is at least something to take home from what has otherwise been a miserable tournament. Before this match, they had somehow taken 62 shots across their first 2 games without scoring a single goal. Against the USA, that drought finally exploded into 3 goals, but from a US perspective, this is one of those weird defeats where context matters, right? Pochettino made heavy changes to the side today. The USA had already qualified, and they still started like a team with rhythm. Trusty scored inside 3 minutes before Gula and Yilmaz flipped the game on its head entirely. Berhalter then produced a brilliant long-range equalizer early in the second half, and for a while it looked like the hosts would escape with a draw, but Ayhan's late winner punished some loose defending. Still, 6 points, top of the group. They've also got a pretty favorable draw leading up until the quarterfinals, but first things first, they gotta get past Bosnia in San Fran in the round of 32. Moving to transfer news, and it's been a big 24 hours or so in the market, the biggest one of which, Elliot Anderson is on his way to Manchester City. Yes, City have agreed apparently a British record deal with Nottingham Forest for the England midfielder, although there is a slight discrepancy on the exact fee. The Athletic are reporting it as a £116 million fixed fee with no add-ons, while the Telegraph are quoting a £130 million package, likely because of the structure, bonuses, and other add-ons. Either way, this is a monster transfer. It smashes City's previous club record, the £100 million they paid for Jack Grealish in 2021, and potentially overtakes the £125 million British record fee Liverpool paid Newcastle for Alexander Isak last summer. A crazy sale in the end. From Forest's perspective, Anderson only arrived from Newcastle in 2023 for £35 million. 2 seasons later, after 92 appearances, a breakout Premier League campaign, and establishing himself as an England international, they are selling for an enormous profit, just shy of £100 million. As for City, it's a key addition in midfield. Anderson is a Premier League proven, homegrown, press-resistant, athletic, and highly esteemed player, viewed as a great talent capable of replacing Bernardo Silva long-term. Speaking of replacements, and Forest have already profiled several players to fill the void, with Tottenham's Lucas Bergvall admired, while Christ Inau Ulai and Celtic's Arne Engels have also been linked. As to my opinion on the transfer, look, the money is absurd. However, it's nothing new here in the hyper-inflated market of today, particularly when it comes to central midfielders like Rice, like Caicedo in the past. Those emerging stars in the middle of the park don't come cheap. Ultimately, how I judge a player arriving for huge money is, does this player immediately improve the team? I think he does in the case of him joining City. In an England team full of stars, he's impressed me the most at the World Cup. He was good against Croatia, and in my opinion, was England's best player v Ghana. Looks to be a very well-rounded midfielder. I wouldn't put him in the category of world class just yet, but he's definitely earned a big transfer. But that was just one big deal in the last 24 hours, so I'm going to speed through the rest, starting with Bayern Munich, who have finally reached an agreement for Eintracht Frankfurt and Germany left-back Nathaniel Brown for €55 million. Meanwhile, Onana is headed back to Trabzonspor on another season-long loan. Alejandro Grimaldo is trading the Bundesliga for La Liga, signing for Atletico Madrid for €20 million. Meanwhile, Real Madrid have activated their buyback clause for Nico Paz for just €10 million, but it doesn't appear he will actually return to the Bernabeu, as they're set to immediately resell him. Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Madrid are offering Como $60 million for his immediate signature, but if they don't agree by Monday, Madrid will sell to another potential potential buyer. I can only imagine there'd be quite a few clubs interested. Elsewhere, and Leeds have secured the signing of Harry Wilson on a free transfer, a huge pickup for them off the back of a ridiculous 25-26 season with Fulham. The streets won't forget that one. Maybe there's more magic in store. And in the other major transfer story of today is a deal that actually didn't come to fruition, as Neymar won't sign for MLS side FC Cincinnati. According to The Athletic, Cincinnati's club president and sporting director met with Neymar back in April, but after slow progress on a deal, Neymar has now pulled out. I think MLS would still be a great opportunity. I'd have loved to see him link up with Messi at Inter Miami, but that seems financially very complicated. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Appreciate you tuning in as always, and I'll see you tomorrow.